Good morning, students. Welcome you all once again in the third lecture of Ind AS 116. So, good morning, Saminathan. Good morning, Sanjay. Good morning, Leela.
Good morning, sir.
Very good morning, sir.
So, friends, in the first 10 minutes, let me recap what we have covered in the last two class, and then I'll take over on the today's topic, and then we'll continue the today's topic. So, friends, Ind AS 116, when we started this standard, we understood and we discussed that Ind AS 116 talks about a single lease model in the books of the lessee, right? And this standard removes the disparity between the entities which are purchasing the asset on a loan basis and paying the EMIs, and the entities which are taking the asset on a lease basis. Lease is another source of financing. लीज भी क्या है? लीज एक फॉर्म ऑफ फाइनेंसिंग है, राइट? So now Ind AS 116 talks about recognition of a right of use asset when a lessee is taking an asset on a lease basis because the lessee is getting a right of use. Okay. Then we discussed that in Ind AS 116, the lease contract definition, has four critical items. Number one, the lease definition talks about transfer of right to control the use, right to control the use, right? So what you are transferring, you are not transferring right to use of the asset. You are transferring right to control the use of the asset, right? It is the lessee who should who have a right to control the use. Control the use, we have also discussed the meaning of control the use. And that asset has to be an identified asset. It should not be only an asset. It has to be identified asset. It has to be for a specified period of time and in lieu of a consideration. Means we have understood the meaning of identified asset, right to control the use, the lease term, and the lease payment. These four aspects we have covered so far in detail with the help of an example in the case studies. Identified asset, we understood that for the lease asset to be an identified asset, it has to be explicitly or implicitly mentioned in the contract. The asset will not be considered as an identified asset if the lessor has a substantive right to substitute the asset. And when the lessor will be considered, when it will be considered that the lessor has a substantive right to replace the asset in two conditions. What are those two conditions? Number one, lessor has a practical ability to replace. Number two, lessor will not be able, and the lessor will be able to get the economic benefit by replacing the asset. If these two conditions will not be satisfied, you cannot say that the lessor has a substantive right to replace the asset. For example, if the lessor is replacing the asset in case of a damage, in case of an accident, in case for a maintenance purpose, then in that case, the lessor does not have an economic benefit, rather he has an economic loss, right? So in that case, it will not be considered as a lessor has a right to substitute the asset. Okay, friends, then we discussed few examples, and then we covered right to control the use of an identified asset. For understanding the right to control the use of an identified asset, we have understood two conditions, important condition. Number one, the economic benefit from the use of the asset should lies with the lessee. Economic benefit from use of the asset should lies with the lessee. Economic benefit from use is very, very, very important. If there are some benefits which are received from ownership of the asset, right, that will not be considered for the purpose of this economic benefit assessment. The ownership benefit are not the criteria to be looked at for looking at the benefit from the use of the asset of the lessee, right? Decision about using the asset, how to use and for what purpose the asset has to be used, it should be lying with the lessee, right? If the decision about how and for what is predetermined, then the lessor should not have the right to change the operating instructions in future, right? So we understood these two aspects, identified asset and right to control the use of an asset. Okay, friends, Then we understood and covered in detail the meaning of lease term and the meaning of lease payments. What is meant by lease term? Lease term means a non-cancelable period, including rent-free period. Non-cancelable period plus rent-free period plus optional renewal period if lessee is reasonably certain to exercise the option. If the lessee is reasonably certain that he is going to avail the renewal option. Plus, optional termination period will also become part of your lease period if lessee is reasonably certain to not to avail the termination option. In the first case, the lessee was reasonably certain to avail the termination option, but now lessee is reasonably certain to not to avail the termination option. To not to avail the termination option, right? So friends, these four parts we have covered in the lease term. That lease term is equal to non-cancelable period plus rent-free period plus optional renewal period plus optional termination period, right? With a lot of examples, you can see on the screen, right? And the examples from ICAI study material as well. And we discussed the concept of termination rights as well. If lessor has the termination right only, not the lessee, lessor has the termination right. In that case, there is no termination period to the lessee. In that case, full period will be considered as a lease period from the perspective of lessee. Full period, okay? Because in this case, lessee does not have the termination right. So whatever is the period, that will be considered as a non-cancelable period, okay? If lessee has the termination right only, then you need to see whether lessee is reasonably certain. If lessee is reasonably certain to not to avail the termination option, in that case, full period will be considered. If lessee is reasonably certain to avail the termination period, then of course, termination period will not be considered. Okay. If both the parties have the termination right, then again, termination period will not be considered for the lease term. Okay. Termination period will not be considered for the lease term. Friends, then we have covered the meaning of lease payments. Lease payment means lease amount, consideration, which is paid by the lessee to the lessor. The word is lease payment, but this is from the lessor perspective, it is lease receipt. It is inflow. From the lessee perspective, it is outflow. From the lessor perspective, it is inflow. Okay. But the word is lease payment. What is the word? Word is lease payment. Okay. So lease payment includes fixed lease payment plus in substance fixed lease payment minus lease incentives plus variable lease payment depending on the index or a rate. For example, if the rent is determined as a 1 lakh rupee of fixed rent plus 5% of the annual turnover, tell me, what will be the treatment of this variable rent, which is 5% of the annual turnover of the lessee? Yes, Sanjay.
We are not considered.
Not considered. So it will not be considered in lease payment. But Sanjay, since it is an outflow from the lessee perspective, so of course an accounting entry has to be there and the recording has to be there in the books of accounts. So what is the treatment?
It will be expensed in the profit and loss account.
Yes, it will be expense as and when accrued. It has to be taken as an expense in the profit and loss account. What expense? Rent expense account debit to bank account or to cash account or to lessor account and lessor to bank, right?
Right.
Very good. Very good. Beautifully explained. Very good. Yes. Exercise price in case of a purchase option. So my dear friends, variable lease payment, you need to have a special precaution in the examination. You need to understand, you need to remember, because what happens? So right now you are learning, you are studying, and there are revision also. So it is there in your mind that only those variable lease payment needs to be considered, which is depending on the index or a rate, right? But after 3 months or 6 months down the line, when you will appear in exam, probably your memory box will only capture variable lease payment. right? So please put this red word, put this word depending on index or a rate, depending on an index or a rate in your memory box. Okay, because this is very important, and I have seen where the students are making mistake. The examiner is checking your knowledge by giving you a variable rent on the basis of turnover, on the basis of your sales, okay, on the basis of profit, on the basis of quantity produced. So these variable lease payments are of course variable lease payment, but it should not be considered in the lease payment. It has to be recorded in the P&L as and when accrued. Plus exercise price in case of a purchase option. Many lease agreement comes with a purchase option. Means at the end of the lease term, you have a right to purchase. Okay. So if there is a purchase option and lessee is reasonably certain that he is going to avail the purchase option, then those exercise prices are also required to be taken into consideration, for the purpose of lease payment. Termination penalties. If the lessee is reasonably certain that he is going to terminate, and there are termination penalties also, those termination penalties will become part of your lease payment. Residual value guarantee given by the lessee. If the lessee has given any residual value guarantee to the lessor, it will also form part of your lease payment. Then residual value guarantee by the parties related or unrelated to the lessee. This is only applicable for the lessor, not the lessee, right? For the lessee, these are the lease payment. For the lessor, these are the lease payment. Okay, all the lease payments from the lessee plus residual value guarantee by the parties related or unrelated to the lessee. Okay. So friends, then we discussed one example. Okay. And we have also done one question from study material. Friends, then we have also discussed the concept of discount rate. Tell me this lease period assessment and the lease payment finalization assessment. When this has to happen? कब होगा ये? कब लेसी लीज टर्म डिटरमिन करेगा एंड लीज पेमेंट आइडेंटिफाई करेगा? एट विच डेट?
At the inception date.
At the inception date or at the commencement date?
Inception.
At the commencement date. इंसेप्शन डेट पे तो ये आइडेंटिफाई करता है whether it is a lease contract and the lease classification in the books of the lessor. On the commencement date, because the accounting has to happen now. Okay. So on the commencement date, the lessee will identify the lease term and the lease payment, because lease term is important for the purpose of discounting, for the purpose of time value of money, right? And lease payment is important, that what you are going to discount and when the outflows or inflows will happen, right? So friends, for discounting, you will require a discount rate. And what is the discount rate? Discount rate is the rate, is the interest rate implicit in the lease. Okay. Interest rate implicit in the lease is the rate which equalizes the below equation. What is the equation? Present value of the lease payment to the lessor plus unguaranteed residual value. Okay. So if the lessor will discount all the rental inflows and whatever present value he will get, plus residual value. In PP, we understood the meaning of residual value, right? So this is a PP for the lessor and any unguaranteed residual value. If lessor will add all the inflows, it has to be equivalent to the outflows, right? So the discount rate is an interest rate implicit in the lease which lessor is earning. And why lessor is earning? So that he will be able to match the present value of the inflows to the present value of the outflows, right? Fair value of the lease asset plus initial direct cost. Friends, in case interest rate implicit in the lease is not available, generally it is practically not available, then incremental borrowing rate of the lessee shall be used. Okay. Initial direct cost. Initial direct cost. Friends, initial direct cost. What is meant by initial direct cost? Initial direct cost are incremental cost which have been incurred in connection with entering into a lease contract. For example, stamp duty, legal fee, brokerage, etc., etc. Okay, brokerage, etc., etc. So friends, we have covered these aspects in the last 2 days. Any question relating to the last 2 days? Any question? Please let me know if any question is there.
Sir, why we are including the penalties, the termination penalties? See, at the beginning of the lease term itself, we are not sure that the penalty whether we are going to incur or not. See.
So Saminathan, if I talk about the recognition of asset, right? What is an asset? Asset is a resource controlled by the entity. Okay. And what you are controlling? You are controlling the future economic benefits. Correct? So when you are recognizing an asset, there must be some stringent criteria by which you can recognize the asset. Okay. Otherwise, what will happen? Just to bloat in the balance sheet, just to increase the size of the balance sheet, just to blot in the balance sheet, people start, recognizing assets. People start recognizing asset. Since it is an asset recognition, so when you are identifying a lease term, you are also assessing whether you are reasonably certain not to avail the termination option, right? If there is a termination option, are you reasonably certain on the day one? Okay. It means on the day one, when you are assessing your lease term, when you are creating a right of use asset, you have to have the visibility on the future considering the present facts and circumstances. Okay. So because business is going on a going concern basis, right? Business is running on a going concern basis. So you have some insight and you have some foresight also. Okay. Business is not about as on date. Business is about having an insight as well as foresight. So that is one. It also talks about when you are finalizing a lease term, it is also talks about assessing whether you are going to avail the optional renewal period or you are not going to avail the termination period, right? That is one. Number two, when you are capitalizing the right of use asset, you have to consider all the outflows and inflows which will happen over the lease term, right? Because that is something which you can determine today, and of course on the basis of present facts and circumstances. Uncertainty will always be there. You are doing an actuarial valuation, you are recognizing a provision for gratuity, but are you sure that all these employee will complete 5 years? You are creating a provision for estimate. You are creating a provision on the basis of best estimate depending on the present facts and circumstances, that out of my 100 employee, 10% are leaving. So I am creating a provision for 90 employees, for example, right? But again, all these provision are uncertainty. Provision for warranty, it is uncertainty. Provision for asset retirement obligation, again, it is an uncertainty, right? But what you are creating, it is on the basis of present facts and circumstances. Okay, Saminathan? So that is why standard talks about considering all the outflows, including termination penalty out. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Got it, sir.
Yeah. So now coming back to this initial direct cost once again. So friends, we discussed this concept of initial direct cost. It's the incremental cost of obtaining a lease that would not have been incurred if the lease had not been obtained, except for such cost incurred by manufacturer or dealer lessor in connection with a finance lease. Just leave this last line for the time being. This we will understood when we will cover manufacturer or dealer lessor concept. So friends, what is initial direct cost? Commission, including to employees acting as an agent, commission to the agent, legal fee, lease document preparation cost, payment to existing tenants to move out, consideration for a guarantee to an unrelated third party for residual value. These are your initial direct cost. What is not a direct cost? Employee salaries, legal fee for the services rendered before execution of the lease, negotiating lease terms and condition, advertisement cost, depreciation and amortization cost. So these are not the cost. These are not the initial direct cost. Okay. These are not the initial direct cost, right? Clear? So friends, now we have reached to the important aspect. So which aspect We have reached initial recognition and measurement. Initial recognition and measurement. We have reached to initial recognition and measurement. So in case of a lease contract from the lessee perspective, you have identified that yes, right to control the use is transferred of an identified asset. The lease term is identified, the lease payments are identified. Now what you will do on the commencement date? Now on the commencement date, you will recognize right of use asset and you will credit lease liability. So at what value you will recognize your right of use asset and lease liability? At what value? So right of use asset will be recognized. It is the total of lease liability, means it is the total of ROU is equal to present value of future lease payments. Present value of future lease payments means lease payments to be made after the commencement date. Lease payments to be made after commencement date. So lease liability is equal to present value of future lease payment and right of use asset is equal to lease liability plus what happens if the lessee has paid an advance rent before the commencement date. होता है ना? You remember that example of Mamta or Chitra? So she wanted to occupy my flat in Lakshmi Nagar. So in the month of February, she has paid me a token amount of 15,000 rupees. So what is that? The commencement date is 1st of April. So the money which she has given me on 15th of February, is it after the commencement date or before the commencement date?
Before the commencement date.
Before the commencement date. So if something which is paid before the commencement date, will we compute the present value?
No.
It has already been paid. It has already been paid, right? There is no liability. This is from the lessee perspective, it is an asset. Okay. So what is the treatment of lease payments made before commencement date? Lease payment made after commencement date, treatment is very much clear. You need to compute the present value. That present value is equal to lease liability. Lease liability is equal to lease asset, which is right of use asset, right? So right of use asset is equal to lease liability, which is equal to present value of future lease payments. Future lease payments plus your past lease payment also. Any lease payment made on or before the commencement date, less lease incentive received. Less lease incentive received. Okay. Plus initial direct cost. If there is any initial direct cost which is incurred, for example, the lessee has paid a legal fees on the registration of the lease. The lessee has also paid a stamp duty. The lessee has paid a brokerage and commission. The lessee has paid for the lease documentation charges. The lessee has paid some money to vacate the existing tenant. So all these expense is also required to be added as a directly attributable cost to the right of use asset. Okay. PPE में भी तो हमने पढ़ा था ना? We have read this in PPE also, na?
Yes.
The directly attributable cost has to be added in PPE.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So likewise, this directly attributable cost, if any, which is initial direct cost, has to be added to the cost of ROU, right of use asset. Plus, you remember in PPE, we have also discussed a concept of decommissioning liability.
Yes.
Your PPE has to be measured at cost and cost is equal to, now let me show you that slide where the red box were there. What were the red boxes? Purchase price plus import duty plus non-refundable taxes minus trade discount and rebates plus directly attributable cost plus estimate cost of dismantling and decommissioning, right?
Yes, sir.
So the same concept came here also, right? Purchase price means lease payment plus directly attributable cost plus estimated cost of dismantling or removing the underlying asset. Same concept. Financial reporting is a very magical subject. If you start reading this financial reporting by heart, right, your heart will always become healthy. Believe me. So many concepts are interrelated. Okay. It's in your hands that how will you relate and how will you remember. Okay. For example, when I was a student, all the recognition condition, all the measurement condition, measurement criteria, if somebody used to ask me in my sleep also, that what is the recognition and measurement criteria for PPE, for intangible assets, for investment property, for inventory, for leases asset. So I was always able to explain. Why? Because I always keep on relating these concepts. For example, I talked about the measurement concept of PPE. The same concepts is there in India's 116 also, as I explained you right now. And when I talk about intangible asset, the same concept is there in intangible asset also. But the only difference is since in intangible asset, there is no physical substance and hence there is no dismantling or removing liability. There is no provision for dismantling and removing, right? जिसका existence ही नहीं है, उसका existence को हटाओगे कैसे? उसको remove कैसे करोगे? Correct? So it's a very magical subject. The only thing is you need to find an opportunity that how you will revise when you are learning something new. So when you are learning something new, you will be able to do a revision of the old topic, right? So friends, this is your right of use asset recognition and measurement. So right of use asset is equal to present value of future lease payment, which is lease liability, plus any past lease payment, which is payment made on or before commencement date, plus initial direct cost, plus estimated provision or estimated cost of dismantling and removing the underlying asset. Okay. So friends, let's discuss this recognition and measurement with the help of one example. And not only one example, few examples. Let me tell you a few examples. Initial recognition and measurement. Initial recognition and measurement. Initial recognition and measurement. Okay. Yes. Just a minute. Yes. So what is my right of use asset definition? What is my concept of right of use asset? Right of use assets. Okay. My right of use asset is equal to what? My right of use asset is equal to what? My right of use asset is equal to what? It is equal to
Present value of future lease
present
payments.
value of future lease payments, right? Which is also called as a lease liability. Okay. Then past, then let me write like lease payment on or before
Commencement date.
commencement date, right? So this is after commencement date and this is On or before commencement. This is on or before commencement date. This is after commencement date and on or before commencement date, right? Then there is a what? Initial direct cost. Initial direct cost. But before that, one thing is missing before that. What is missing? क्या missing है? Saminathan, what is missing?
Any advance payment we given to?
नहीं, एडवांस पेमेंट तो इसमें आ गया ना. सो लीज पेमेंट ऑन और बिफोर कमेंसमेंट डेट is on or before commencement date. That is advance payment. That is advance.
Lease incentives?
Yes. Less lease incentives. Lease incentives. Initial direct cost. Right. Then last one. Provision for decommissioning oblique dismantling. Provision for decommissioning oblique dismantling. Yes. This is your total right of use asset. This is your total of right of use assets, right? So friends, now let's discuss first of all one small question, then one detailed question, then board of studies material question, right? Anyone who thinks that he or she is not getting benefited from these classes? Are you guys got a feeling that you guys are attending like private classes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Okay,
So this is more than private class.
more
Not
than
private, it's more than private.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Great. So the intent is to make you guys comfortable, right? Because you all are making your future. Okay. And it is your precious time which you are investing. It is your precious time. Example. So let's discuss this example. Yes. So my dear friends, what is the example? A Limited has paid an advance rent of rupees 10,000 as on 15th February 2024. The asset is given on a lease on 1st April 2024. 1st April 2024. Okay. Yes. So advance rent was paid on 15th February 2024 for rupees 10,000. Asset is given on a lease as on 1st April 2024. Friends, in this case, what is the inception date and what is the commencement date? Tell me.
The inception date is 15th Feb. Commencement date is 1st April.
Very good. So inception date is 15th of February and commencement date is 1st of April, right? So inception date. Let me put these dates here first of all. 15th February 2024 and commencement date is 1st April 2024. Annual rent is 1 lakh for 3 years. Interest rate implicit in the lease is 10%. The rental payment is at the beginning of the year. Why it is important? How does it matter it is beginning of the year or end of the year?
Sir, it changes the present
Present value.
value. At the beginning, then it's 1.
Yes.
And if it's last, then it will be 0.9 discounted at the rate.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And believe me, I can tell you 70 to 80% of the student make a mistake in the pressure. 70 to 80% of the students. When the students are attempting this lease question as a first question, then most probably 20 to 30% of the students are making a mistake. But when the students are picking the lease question, such kind of lease question at the end means in the last half an hour or 1 hour, 70 to 80% of the student make a mistake about this beginning or end. If it is end, then there is no mistake. But if the lease rentals are paid at the beginning, the mistakes are happening, right? So always remember, if the rentals are at the beginning of the year, means for the first rental, your present value factor is 1. There is no time value of money. Correct? Very good. So it is at beginning of the compute right of use asset on the commencement date. Compute right of use asset on the commencement date. Okay. So friends, now if I need to compute my right of use asset, so friends, just allow me a minute. Somebody is there on the door. Sorry. Yeah. So what is my right of use asset formula? Let me apply my right of use asset formula here. Okay. So let me apply this here. I need to compute right of use asset on the commencement date. Present value of future lease payment, lease liability. I need to compute what? Present value of 1 lakh rental for next 3 years, right? Right? For 3 years. Present value 1 lakh rental for 3 years and lease payment on or before commencement date. Lease payment on or before commencement date. Commencement date से पहले कितनी कौन सी लीज पेमेंट? एडवांस रेंट 10,000 rupees, right? Advance rent. Lease incentive, no. Initial direct cost, no. There is nothing, right? No, not applicable. So let me write 0. In this question, only these two things needs to be computed, right? Only these two things, correct? So what is my present value of 1 lakh rental for 3 years? What is my present value of 1 lakh rental? Year, then amount, present value factor, present value. One, two, three.
73. Sir.
What is amount? 1 lakh. Right? Present value factor for first payment. What is the present value factor?
1.
1. Very good. For next payment?
0.909.
0.909. For the third payment, again same. Okay. Yes. What is my present value? This multiply by this. What is the total present value? 273.
23.
273,554. And what is my advance rent which I paid before commencement date?
10,000.
10,000.
10,000, right? 10,000. So what is my total right of use asset? What is my total right of use asset?
2,83,554.
My total right of use asset is 10,000. Sorry, 283,554. What is the accounting entry? Now, what is the accounting entries? Shall I pass journal entries also? So let me pass journal entry. 15th February 2024. What is the entry which is going to be passed on 15th February? Payment तो हुई है. Lessee has to pass the entry ना. क्या entry pass करेगा lessee? Journal entry तो बताओ.
Advance payment.
Lesser account to
account
account
debit. So lessor account debit, or you can also write advance rent. You can also write any nomenclature you want to write, you can write lessor account debit or advance rent account debit, whatever, right?
To bank.
Lessor account or advance rent account debit. Debit to
Bank.
bank account. Credit to bank account credit. Okay. What is the amount? What is the
10,000.
amount? 10,000.
10,000.
Already paid 10,000. Now coming to the commencement date, you have to do the accounting. What is accounting? Accounting is counting. क्या होती है accounting? Accounting counting होती है.
yeah, write up use asset account debit.
So first of all, what you will do? Write off. First of all, you transfer this this advance rent, or you can do write off use asset account debit to
advance rent or lesser account.
Lesser
to same. Copy this. Very good, because you have to nullify this. You have to credit this to credit to what? To lease
Liability.
To lease liability credit. Okay. So what is my right of use asset?
273.
283,554. And what is my advance rent which you will credit? 10,000. What is the lease liability?
273.
273, right? Yes. Now the accounting entry, calculation, concept, all three is clear or not clear?
Clear.
Very much clear.
Very much clear.
Okay. Should I prepare the lease liability schedule also? Should I prepare the lease liability schedule also?
Yes.
Okay. Let me prepare the lease liability schedule. Lease liability schedule. I met one fresher chartered accountant yesterday. He came for an interview in my company. And I was discussing with him. So I asked him, what was your score in CA final financial reporting? His score was 81. 81, right? And I asked him, how have you prepared? He told me, sir, I know you. I said, how come you know me? He told me, sir, you are also teaching in board of studies classes, right? And thank you so much. You and few other teachers are teaching there. And sir, I have completed all my subject through board of studies classes, all subject, right? I haven't taken any coaching from outside, what he told me. Right? And he was from a very humble background, very humble background. And believe me, when I took his interview, his concept was amazing, very much clear. His concept was very much clear. I asked him, tell me, I am a company and I have a property, plant and equipment. I have a building which is my property, plant and equipment. And it is on a revaluation model. So I have to do the revaluation every year if the let's say the fair value is highly volatile. But tell me one thing, I don't want to revalue it in the next year. And I don't want to change the accounting policy also. What should I do? He has given me an idea, sir. You can change the use of this building, right? If this building can be transferred from the office use to earning rental, this building will be reclassified from property, plant and equipment to investment property. And in investment property, fair value model is not applicable. I was amazed that a student who is recently become a chartered accountant, he is also talking about these two standards with the concepts very clearly. Very clearly. I was amazed. I was very happy also. Right? So friends, these classes are very helpful. And this is the real life feedback by the students. I'm not talking about only FR classes, but other classes also. Right? Yes. So Ayush is asking, sir, in exam, do we need to show the present value factor working table or we can directly write the final present value? Ayush, always use the present value factor working table. Okay. It will also ensure if there could be any possibility of mistake, it will help you in reducing that mistake also. Do that. As a working note, show the table. Okay. Neha is asking, no, she is not asking. She has responded on something. Yes. Yeah. So lease liability schedule. Now coming to the lease liability schedule. Year, opening balance, interest, payment, and then payment के बाद closing balance. Closing balance. Right. What is my opening balance of the lease liability, Sanjay? What is my opening balance of lease liability? अभी तो entry pass की है.
आज ही 6 तारीख को भावे सारी
273.
273,554. This is my opening liability, opening liability ना 273,554.
Yes.
10,000 तो already paid है, वो तो advance में चला गया. Correct? It is not a liability. What is my interest? Or what is my interest?
Nothing, sir.
273,554 का 10%.
No, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, on the first year, no interest, sir, because we
Opening है, sir.
What is the interest? Tell me.
So 273
किस पे लगेगा इंटरेस्ट? किस पे लगेगा? ईयर 1 बिगनिंग. Year 1 end of year. Opening balance is this much. This day 1. It is year 1 beginning means day 1. Year 1 beginning. There is an advance payment in this case. That is why you have used the present value factor as 1. There is one advance payment. So on the first date, you will create a liability of 273,554 and at the same time you will pay the liability also of 1 lakh rupee. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
This is the beginning, na? This is you have seen, na? This is the beginning of the year. The rental payment is at the beginning of the year. That is why I was emphasizing, should I prepare lease schedule or not? That is why I was emphasizing, right? So now, when you will reach at the end of the first year, what was your opening balance? 173,554. What is your interest payment? This multiply by 10%. What is your lease payment? Your lease payment is 1 lakh rupee. What is your this thing? Closing balance 90,909. Okay. So this is your at the first year, at the end of the year, and I'll also call it as a, or I will write this as a second, say year 2 beginning. Shall I write this as a year 2 beginning? Because the payment is happening on the beginning. Shall I write
Yes.
this at the beginning? लिख सकता हूं मैं या नहीं?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So year 2 beginning, year 3 beginning. Okay. In the year 3 beginning, 90909, and you have to pay an interest on this liability. You have to pay a payment, and this is your closing balance. It becomes 0. Any doubt, any challenge, any question on this calculation? Anyone? Anyone who has any challenge?
No, sir.
Yes. Is it absolutely clear to you, Chitra? Neha, Manish? Absolutely clear to everyone that why I have not computed interest at the beginning? Day 1,
Yes, sir.
year 2, day 1, year 1, day 1, year 2, day 1, year 3. Mamta, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Yes. So friends, this first example we have done. Now let's cover another example. And this is little complex one. Example, another example. What is this example? These examples are illustrations. Yes. So let me take this example from my old file because it's a long example, and otherwise I have to write or I have to type a lot of things. Yes. Can you see this detailed example illustration? Yes. So let's discuss this. This is a 6 to 8 marks question. A Limited has taken a leasehold office from B Limited, lessor, on 1st April 2023 for a period of 5 years. A Limited has paid an advance rent of rupees 10,000 before 1st April 2023. So A Limited has taken a leasehold office from B Limited on 1st April for a period of 5 years. A Limited has paid an advance rent for rupees 10,000 before 1st April 2023. So there is a lease payment made before commencement date also, right? Right? This
Yes,
is
sir.
made before commencement date as well. Okay. B Limited has given a lease incentive of rupees 25,000 at the time of entry of A Limited in the office space. There is a lease incentive also. The lessor is giving some lease incentive. The remaining rent A Limited will pay as follows after 1st April 2023. So 10,000 rupees advance paid, 25,000 this lessee has received from the lessor on the commencement date. After the commencement date in year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these payments have been made. 90,000, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh. And these are at the end of the year. These are at the end of the year. A Limited has also paid 20,000 for lease registration in the court of the law. What is this? What is this?
This is the direct
charge? Initial direct cost. Initial direct cost bhi hai question. The company has done leasehold improvement of rupees 1 lakh. The company has done some leasehold. The company has done some leasehold improvement as well. The company has done some leasehold improvement as well, right? Again, it's a cost. It's a cost of the asset. So the company has done some leasehold improvement in the lease premises, which lessor has told to the lessee that at the end of the lease term, he will be requiring the office in the same condition in which it was given to the lessee. The lessee is expecting the restoration and dismantling cost of 50,000 rupees at the end of the lease term. What it says, what it talks about.
It's a dismantling cost, restoration cost.
This is talking about removing, restoration, dismantling cost. This is talking about the dismantling cost. Okay. This is talking about dismantling cost. Okay. This leasehold improvement dismantling cost. Right. The incremental borrowing rate of A Limited is 10%. Discount rate is given. Lessee discount rate, lessee IBR is given. You are requested to provide the accounting entries in the books of the lessee as on 1st April 2023. Have you found all the concept in this question?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Let me solve this question for all of you. So let me solve this question. On the commencement date, the right to use asset needs to be recognized, right? On the commencement date, the right to use asset needs to be recognized. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
To be recognized. So on the commencement date, needs to be recognized. On the commencement date, right of use asset needs to be recognized. And what is the formula of right of use asset? क्या formula right of use asset का? Present value future lease payments plus lease payment on or before commencement date minus lease incentive plus initial direct cost plus provision for decommissioning and dismantling. यही formula है?
Yes.
Particulars amount. Yes, present value future lease payments or lease liability. This we need to compute, right? To be calculated. Advance rent. Is there any advance rent? So this plus you need to add lease payment on or before commencement date. Then your lease incentive needs to be reduced. Your initial direct cost needs to be added to the cost of the asset, and your provision for decommissioning or dismantling also needs to be added. What is my initial direct cost? What is my lease incentive first of all? What is my lease payment before commencement date? Advance rent क्या है?
10,000.
10,000 is the advance rent. What is the lease incentive given in the question?
25,000.
25,000. 25,000 has to be reduced. Then initial direct cost. What is initial direct cost?
20,000.
20,000. This 1 lakh of leasehold improvement, this has to be added separately. This has to be capitalized separately. Okay. Leasehold improvement has to be capitalized separately. Right. It is just like a property, plant and equipment. Provision for decommissioning or dismantling. What is the amount of provision for decommissioning and dismantling?
50,000.
Sir, we need to compute the present value of that amount.
Yes. You need to 50,000 is the amount going to be paid after 5 years. So you need to compute that. The present value you need to compute that. Okay. So let me now compute the present value of future lease payments. So here, let me use the above table, right? Let me copy the above table. It will save time. One, two, three, four, five. 5 years are there, no? 5 years
Yes.
are there. 4, 5. What is the payment which is given in the question? First year it is
90,000.
90,000 because 10,000 advance payment has been made, and then in the next years it is 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh. What is my present value factor in the first year? What is my present value factor?
It's a payment made end of the year, sir.
Yes, so it's
Will
a
always be
1 divided by
sir.
1.1, right? It's a payment made at the end of the year, so full present value factor will be there. And this is my present value. And this is my total value of right of use asset. Refer working note 1. Refer working note 1. Okay. And this is my working note 1. What I'm doing? I am doing how you will do in exam. This is what I am doing. Working note 1. Right? Yes. What about provision for decommissioning or dismantling? What about provision for decommissioning or dismantling?
Yeah, on the fifth year, we have to discount it. We can use 0.621 into 50,000.
Yes. Working note 2. Provision for decommissioning oblique dismantling. When this payment needs to happen? This payment needs to happen at year 5. Okay. Year 5. And what is the amount which has to be paid? What is the amount which has to be paid?
50,000.
5 year, 50,000. What is the present value factor at the end of the 5 year? 0.621. 31,046. 31,046. Refer working note 2. What is my total amount? 406,034. 406,034. Right? This is my total amount. 406,034. What is the accounting entry? What is the accounting entry? What is my accounting entry, my dear friends?
So for advance, it would be advance rental to bank.
Accounting entry at the accounting entry at the time, accounting entry before, accounting entry for payment before commencement date. Accounting entry for payment before commencement date. So what is my accounting entry? Lessor account debit or advance rent account debit, whatever you want to do. Shall I copy the accounting entry from the first question? कर लूं मैं copy? कोई
Yes,
problem
sir.
तो नहीं आपको?
Yes.
I believe you don't have any problem in copying this accounting entry.
No, sir.
No.
Yes. Lessor account debit or advance rent account debit to bank 10,000 rupees, right? 10,000 rupees is given. 10,000 rupees. Then the accounting entry at the time of commencement. Accounting entry on the commencement date, right? Now your accounting entry for payment accounting entry at commencement date. At commencement. What is the accounting entry at commencement date? Right of use asset account debit. 2. First of all, to what?
To lease
Present
liability.
value future lease payment to lease liability. Then payment made before commencement date to what? To lessor account or advance rent account, correct?
Yes, sir.
To lessor account or advance rent account. To lessor account or advance rent account, right? Then to what? Bank. You have paid the initial direct cost to bank. To provision for decommissioning or dismantling. Decommissioning or dismantling. Credit. Right. So what is my to lease liability? My lease liability is how much? 369,988. What is my lessor account debit to advance or advance? 10,000. What is the money which I have paid? Initial direct cost. What is the initial direct cost?
25,000.
20,000.
20.
20,000. Yes. What is the provision for decommissioning or dismantling?
31,046.
31,046. One part I have missed here. Which part? Lease incentive भी तो आया है.
Yes, sir. Lease incentive.
Right? Lease incentive. So this lease liability is present value of future lease payments. This is advance rent. This is initial direct cost. This is your decommissioning cost, present value of decommissioning. Present value of decommissioning liability. Now, if you will add all these things, then what you will get? You will get 431,034. But what we have capitalized 406,034. What is the difference? Second entry, bank account debit. Why we have debited bank account in the books of the lessee? Why?
Because we are receiving the incentive from the lessor.
We are receiving the incentive from the lessor. So bank account debit to right of use asset account. How much is the amount?
25,000.
25,000.
25,000. Lease incentive received. Right? And this will be credit in the right of use asset. So what is my ROU asset? Net 431,034 minus 25,000. These are the accounting entries. This is the accounting in the books of the lessee. In the books of the lessee, right? On the commencement date, right of use asset needs to recognize in the books of lessee. Friends, is this question clear to everyone? Any question on this question? Manish? Chitra?
Clear, sir.
Leela? Ayush? Neha? Bibhu? Mamta? Sanjay? Saurav? Any question?
No,
Any
sir.
other question? Any different question?
No.
No question?
No,
Means
sir.
everything is clear or nothing is clear? Everything is clear?
Everything is
Yeah.
clear, sir.
This is very important aspect, my dear friends. Very important aspect. Okay. Okay, no worries. Let's move further. So I hope I have also given you calculation, formula, right? And every time we are repeating that formula so that it will get printed in your mind. Okay. So once you will do this, then what will happen? It will get printed in your mind. Okay. Shall I? Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Please.
there is we have right of use asset. It was 4,06,034.
Yes.
Now we have taken here in the entry 4,31,034.
So next entry, Sanjay, I have credited right of use asset also, na? If you will see
Okay.
the next entry, so the debit and credit is also there, na?
Right. I could not see. Yes.
So debit or credit, you understand now if 1
Yes.
lakh is debited and 50,000 is credited, net is 50,000 only, right?
Yes, I did not see
So this
that.
entry I
Thank
have
you.
passed separately. Lease incentive received from the lessor. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
So friends, let me move to my PowerPoint presentation. So this we all are clear very much. Now friends, let me discuss one question, then I'll come back to a different question. Yeah. Illustration number 27. Entity L enters into a lease for 10 years with a single lease payment payable at the beginning of each year. The initial lease payment is 1 lakh. Initial lease payment is 1 lakh. Lease payment will increase by the rate of LIBOR each year. At the date of commencement of the lease, the LIBOR is 2%. And you need to see at the date of commencement of the lease, right? Because you are doing the calculation on the commencement date. Assume that the interest rate implicit in the lease is 5%. How lease liability is initially measured, right? So in this question, the lease term is given 10 year. Single lease payment payable at the beginning of each year. The lease payment is happening when? Beginning. Initial lease payment is 1 lakh, right? And lease payment will increase by the rate of LIBOR, means every year 2%. And what is the interest rate which is given? What is the interest rate which is given? It is
5%.
5%.
5%.
How lease liability is initially measured? So it is talking about initial measurement of lease liability. It is talking about present value of future lease payments, right? It is talking about lease liability, present value of future lease payment. It is talking about right of use asset to the extent of lease liability. Okay. So let me solve this. So before that, Chitra has a question. In the previous example. Why didn't we adjust the advance rent against the actual rent paid? Chitra, if you will see in the previous example, if I'll take you on the previous example again, in the previous example, it has already been adjusted. That is why you can see the rental payment after the commencement date in the first year is only 90,000, not 1 lakh rupee. It has already been adjusted.
Not this one, the one before that, the example before that.
Example before that, this example, first example.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So in this example, Chitra, we have assumed that this 10,000 is an addition of 1 lakh rupee. Probably for the first year, as you know, in the society in Gurgaon and Delhi, let me give you an example, real life example. When you shift to a society, in the first month, the landlord is charging you extra. Why? Because the landlord has to pay to the society the shifting charges and the other charges. Okay. So here in this question, I have assumed that my first rent is 1 lakh 10,000. As simple as that. 10,000 advance payment किया, उसके बाद 1 lakh rupee every year pay किया. So total outflow is not 3 lakh, it is 3 lakh 10,000. As simple as that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Now let me solve illustration number 27 of ICAI study material. Illustration 27 of ICAI study material. Friends, you must have been understood for computing the right of use asset. The first step is to compute present value of lease liability. The first step is to compute lease liability, present value of future lease payment. Is that clear? Yeah?
Yes, clear.
Okay. So let me put the table here. What is my lease liability? Let me put here. How many years were there?
10 years, sir.
10 years. What was the amount of payment? In the first payment was?
1 lakh.
Next payment is how much? It is increased by 2% of the LIBOR.
1 lakh
Every-
into 1.02.
1 lakh multiplied by 1.02. Okay. Then same way,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, same way.
the last payment is 119,509. Then present value factor at the rate of 5%. What is the present value factor for the first year?
1 with the beginning of the year.
One.
Beginning of the payment.
Yes, 1. Why 1? Why 1?
Beginning of the
Payments are made at the beginning of the year.
In this question, payments are made at the beginning. Okay. So then the next year, 1 divided by 1.05. Okay. 1 divided by 1.05, so on and so forth. Same computation you can drag. Then this multiply by this. Same computation you can drag. And this is my lease liability. 880,751 is my lease liability. This is my lease liability. So lease liability is initially measured at lease liability. Right? Is this question, whether this question is clear or not clear?
Clear.
Very much clear? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, yes, we have covered this question now. Yes. Let's go to illustration number 28. Illustration number 28. Entity Y and entity Z execute a 12-year lease of a rail car. What is a rail car? What are the features of the rail car? Don't get into that. Okay. So it
Not
is an
required.
equipment. It is a machinery. It is an equipment. It is an identified asset. That's all. Entity Y and entity Z execute a 12-year lease of a rail car with the following terms on 1st January 2016. The lease commencement date is 1st February 2016. The lease commencement date. Commencement date is given in this question. Commencement date is given in this question. Entity Y must pay entity Z the first monthly rental payment of rupees 10,000 upon execution of the lease. Okay. So this entity Y is paying the monthly rental payment of 10,000 upon execution of the lease. Okay. So this lease was executed on 1st January 2016. The lease was commenced on 1st February 2016. What is the inception date and what is the commencement date?
The inception date is 1st January. Commencement date is 1st February.
Commencement date is 1st February. So what is the payment? What is the payment which is made before commencement date as an advance rent?
10,000 rupees.
1,000, sir.
10,000. Yes, 10,000 rupees is the advance payment which was made. Okay. So friends, 10,000 rupees. Okay. And entity Z, lessor, will pay entity Y 50,000 cash incentive to enter into the lease payable upon lease execution. What is this?
Incentive received lesser.
This is lessor payment. This is incentive. This is incentive. Okay. This is incentive which is getting paid. Incentive. Okay. This is incentive. So entity Z will pay entity Y 50,000 cash incentive. So payment made before commencement date we have covered. Incentive we have covered. Entity Y incurred 1,000 rupees of initial direct cost, which are payable on 1st February 2016. What is the word used here? Which are
Payable.
Payable.
payable. If the question will ask you accounting entry, so whether you will credit to bank or you will credit to initial direct cost payable or expense payable.
Payable.
Payable. Because you all are chartered accountants, you understand the meaning of paid and payable, right? Paid means cash has gone out. Payable means this is a liability. Correct? We all
Yes.
understand. See, a small question, but I'm taking a lot of pause here, lot of pauses. Why? Just
To make us
to make
understand.
you guys
Better
clear.
understanding.
Make you guys clear on the small things. Okay. Otherwise, I can just read in one go. Entity Y incurred 1,000 rupees of initial direct cost which are payable on 1st February 2016. बच्चों, initial direct cost 1,000 की add कर दो. But this is an important aspect. It is payable. It is not paid. It is payable. Right? Entity Y calculated the initial lease liability as the present value of the lease payments discounted using its incremental borrowing rate because the interest rate implicit in the lease cannot be readily determined. The initial lease liability is 8,50,000. Initial lease liability is also given in this question. How would lessee company measure and record this lease? At what value the right of use asset is going to be measured? My dear friends, tell me. At what value it is going to be measured? It is going to be measured at what? Your present value of future lease liability, future lease payment 8,50,000. Initial direct cost, sorry, 10,000 is your what? 10,000 is your advance rent paid. Lease incentive is negative. Initial direct cost is 1,000. This is your right of use asset of 8,11,000. Right? Any doubt? Any question on this part?
No, sir.
No doubts.
It is good.
Good.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yes. So friends, we have discussed this part completely. Illustration number 27, illustration number 28 for the initial recognition and measurement of right of use asset. And what we have discussed, my dear friends, we have discussed that the right of use asset is going to be initially measured at lease liability plus advance rent paid plus initial direct cost plus provision for decommissioning or dismantling, right? So friends, now we'll move to the subsequent measurement. Initial recognition and measurement we have covered. Now we'll move to the subsequent measurement. And before that, friends, let's have a break. Okay. And friends, as I told you today, I will take you guys 15-20 minutes extra, right? 20 minutes extra, 20-25 minutes extra. So today's session will get completed by 10:20 or 10:25. I hope you are okay with that. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Right.
So friends, let's have a break right now. It's 8:25 now. Let's have a 15 minutes break. Okay. We will start at 8. It's 8:24. We'll start at 8:39. Right?
Right.
Okay. Okay. Let's have a break. We'll start at 8:39.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Subsequent measurement. Friends, we understood subsequent measurement means measurement on the reporting date, right? So initially we have measured the ROU asset. Now we are going to subsequently measure this ROU asset. Okay. Remeasure. Subsequent measurement means remeasurement. Like in PP, what we have understood in PP, we have understood in PP that PP has to be depreciated, right? The impairment testing has to be done on PP. Okay. Then what we discussed, impairment testing has to be done on PP. And we have also discussed that, PP has to be remeasured at a cost model or revaluation model. PP has to be remeasured at cost model or revaluation model. Cost model or revaluation model. So likewise, this ROU asset. This ROU asset accounting, I hope my presentation is visible to everyone.
Visual.
Yes. This ROU asset is like a property, plant and equipment from the accounting perspective. So this ROU asset is also going to be remeasured either at a cost model or revaluation model. Are you guys understand about cost model or revaluation model?
Yes.
Ind AS 16, Ind AS 38. Yeah?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So this ROU can also be remeasured. Either it can be continued at cost model or it can be also revalued at a revaluation model. So friends, if it is at cost model, generally companies are opting cost model in case of ROU. So what is my carrying value of ROU? Cost less accumulated depreciation less accumulated impairment losses, right? What was the definition of carrying amount in PP and intangible asset?
Cost less accumulated depreciation, less accumulated impairment loss.
Losses. Same definition.
Same.
So this ROU is also going to be depreciated and impairment testing has to be checked. ROU recoverable amount needs to be checked on the reporting date, right? So cost minus accumulated depreciation minus accumulated impairment losses. Sir, how ROU is going to be impaired? How? So let me give you an example. Friends, let's say the company has entered into a lease contract with one of the office developer, okay, in a commercial tower. And this contract was entered on 1st April 2018 for 10 years. 1st April 2018 for 10 years. And the rental was 1 lakh rupee. The rental was 10 lakh rupee per annum. And the escalation happens at the rate of 10% every year. So how will you compute ROU? Tell me on 1st April 2018. How have you computed ROU? Tell me.
Present value of lease rental discounted at 10% every year for 10 years.
First you have computed the lease rentals, which is 10 lakh in the first year and it is escalated by 10% every year. So first year 10 lakh, second year 11, third year 11 lakh, 12 lakh, 10,000, so on and so forth. Then you have discounted it at the rate of 10% or whatever is the discount rate, and you have arrived at a present value and you have computed the ROU. Now what will you do? In the 10 year, you will depreciate this ROU on a straight line method, right?
Right.
यही करेंगे ना?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Chitra, what will we do with this ROU? How will this ROU become zero? By depreciating ROU, correct, over the life? Yes. So 1st April 18, we have created an ROU and we charge depreciation at the end of the first year, which is 31st March 19. We also charge depreciation on 31st March 20. But when we reached to 31st March 20, the situation was very bad. What was that? What was that? COVID time. COVID. And due to COVID, what happened? The entire world was doing work from home. the rental, the property prices, the rental has been dropped substantially. Even I was living in a rented accommodation. My landlord has reduced my rent. My landlord has reduced my rent. So friends, the rental payment which was staggered, the rental payment which was planned, which was 10 lakh in the first year, in the second year 10% increment in the first year, and there was an increment of 10%, means in the second year there was an increment of 10% and the rental become 11 lakh rupee. So my question is, the agreed rental was 12 lakh rupees or 11 lakh rupees, okay, but the actual rental has been substantially dropped. It has been substantially dropped. Now it became 8 lakh rupees only. So don't you think the recoverable value of right of use asset has also been dropped? So if I would have entered into a rental accommodation on 31st March 20, what is my future lease rentals? Is it 12 lakh and 10% increase every year? Or is it 8 lakh rupees and accordingly increase?
8 lakh plus increase.
8 lakh rupees, right? It means if I will compute my present value of lease liability on the basis of market rental, my right of use asset is way lower than what is my carrying value of right of use asset right now, because I have computed it on 1st April 2018 on the basis of 10 lakh in the first year, 11 lakh, then 12 lakh, so on and so forth for the 10 years. Right or wrong?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, you have understood, na? This example you have understood?
Yes, sir. Clear,
So
sir.
Yes.
my dear friends, this is how, when you compare with your market rental, for example, your right of use asset recoverable value is lower than the carrying value, then what will be there? Then there will be an impairment loss. So have you understood how impairment will come in Ind AS 116 right of use asset?
Yes.
Is it clear or clear?
Clear.
Clear?
Yes, sir.
Very much clear?
Very much clear.
Clear in mind?
Yes, clear in mind.
Very good. Absolutely clear in mind, right? So my dear friends, this right of use asset on the reporting date, when we measured it subsequently, it has to be measured at cost minus accumulated depreciation minus accumulated impairment loss, and it requires an adjustment also for any remeasurement of lease liability. Now tell me one thing. So the initial lease period was 10 years. At the end of the second year, what is the remaining lease period?
8 years.
Sorry?
8 years.
8 years.
8 years. 8 years is the remaining lease period. So at the end of the 8 year, the lessee and the lessor decided. The lessee and lessor agreed to increase this lease term by 5 more years. So tell me, at the end of the second year, what is my remaining lease term?
Now, after adding 5 years, till 13 years.
13 year. 13 year is my revised lease term. If 13 year is my revised lease term, don't you think my liability for additional 5 year will also increase? My lease liability, which is equivalent to present value of future lease payments?
Yes, sir.
If that will be increased, don't you think my right of use asset will also be increased?
Yes.
My
Yes,
right
sir.
of use asset will also be increased?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So subsequently, if there is any remeasurement of lease liability, your right of use asset is also requires an adjustment. Correct? Just like, and if you have to relate this concept with the concept of PP&E, what was the concept? You remember that component approach. You remember that major replacement cost, major inspection cost. We were adding that cost in the cost of the fixed asset, in the cost of the PP.
Yes, sir.
सुना सुना लग रहा है, सूना सूना लग रहा है?
Yes,
Yes,
sir. We
sir.
discussed.
Something which is heard, or is it something which is blank?
We discussed.
Heard.
We discussed, we heard. It is heard, right? Yes. So friends, subsequently, your lease asset, which is right of use asset, needs a depreciation on a SLM basis, plus the impairment also requires to be checked, right? When the recoverable value is lower than the carrying value, of course, there is an impairment. And if there is any modification in the lease contract, for example, lease term, lease consideration, of course, it requires an adjustment in the right of use asset also. Now, what is my depreciation period? What is my depreciation period? Standard says that the right of use asset is going to be depreciated over the useful life of the asset if the lessee wants to purchase the asset. If there is a purchase price option and lessee is reasonably certain that the lessee is going to avail the purchase price option. For example, the life of the car is 15 years. The life of the petrol car is 15 years. Okay. And there is a lease contract of 10 years. At the end of the 10 year, there is a purchase option which is available. And this purchase option is at 1 lakh rupee. At the end of 10 year, the purchase option, the exercise price of the purchase option is 1 lakh. So tell me, don't you think there are high chances, there is a reasonable certainty that the lessee is going to avail the purchase option, because after 10 years, it is only getting at 1 lakh rupee and there is no value of 1 lakh rupee after 10 years, right?
Yes,
And the
sir.
life of the car is 15 years. So
Yes, sir.
technically speaking, the purchase price option is available and lessee is also reasonably certain that lessee is going to avail the purchase price option. So friends, in this case, what will be the depreciation period? The right of use asset has to be depreciated over 15 years or over 10 years.
15
years.
15 years, because he is going to purchase that asset.
Yes, it is 15 years. And if you will relate this concept with the lease payment, in the lease payment, we have discussed some kind of lease payments. For example, fixed payment plus in substance fixed payment minus lease incentive plus variable lease payment depending on an index or rate plus exercise price in case of purchase option if lessee is reasonably certain to exercise plus termination penalty plus residual value guarantee. So if you are considering the exercise price of purchase option when the lessee is reasonably certain to exercise, in the lease payment, what does it mean? In right of use asset, you have also considered the exercise price. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
If you have considered the exercise price, there is a reasonable certainty you are going to avail the purchase option. Don't you think? You should depreciate the asset over the useful life, not the right of use asset, not the lease life. Yeah. So this is what standard says, that your right of use asset is going to be depreciated over the useful life of the asset if the lessee intends to purchase it, or the earlier of useful life or the period of use, right? Or over the period of use, over the lease period or useful life. For example, the lease term is 10 years. But lessee wants to use the asset only for 7 years. Lease term to 10 साल का है, because lessor says that I will not give you this asset let less than 10 years. You remember I have taken an example of a medicine. You went to buy a medicine and you told that can I have a paracetamol, 4 tablet of paracetamol. The shopkeeper told no sir, I will give you the entire strip. I will give you the complete strip, one strip. And that one strip is having 10 tablet. So you got 10 tablet. You purchased 10 tablet. But how much tablet is going to be used? 4 tablet. You need 4 tablet. So you got the asset for 10 years. Lease term is 10 years. Lease life is 10 years. But you are going to use this asset only for 7 years. So whether a right of use asset is going to be depreciated over a period of 7 years or 10 years?
7 years.
7 years.
7 years. Right? So my dear friends, your depreciation period, your right of use asset is going to be depreciated over the useful life of the asset if the lessee intends to purchase it. Otherwise, it is earlier of useful life or lease term, whichever is earlier, right? Depreciation has to be measured on the straight line method basis, and you need to apply the concept of Ind AS 16 for depreciation. Revaluation model, in case right of use asset belongs to the class of PPE to which lessee chooses to apply revaluation model under Ind AS 16. For example, lessee has 5 building. 3 building lessee has purchased. 2 building lessee has taken on lease. So what is the class of asset here? For PPE, what is the class of asset?
Building.
Building is the class of asset. For right of use asset, what is the class of asset? Building. Building is the class of asset. So for all these asset, what is the class of asset? Building. So standard says that, for example, your owned asset, which is 3 building, if you have opted a revaluation model in PPE, then you also required to opt revaluation model for these right of use asset, which belongs to the same class of asset. Have you got it or not?
Yes, got it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would you like to capture all these aspects in your Excel file? Would you like me to capture all these aspects?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Friends, do you want me to capture all these aspects in the Excel file so that your notes will get prepared?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir. Didil mange more. Right? Sir, you please capture all these facts. We will read the notes only, right? Okay. Yes. Let me put the key points. Okay. Subsequent measurement. Key points. Subsequent measurement is largely same as of Ind AS 16, right? Cost model and revaluation model. Accounting policy choice is given. Carrying amount is computed by reducing accumulated depreciation and accumulated impairment losses. Okay. So depreciation on ROU asset needs to be provided on a straight line method. Okay. Depreciation so the useful life for the purpose of computing depreciation is as below. In case lessee is reasonably certain to purchase the asset. In case lessee is reasonably certain to purchase the asset, right? In case lessee is reasonably certain to purchase the asset, where purchase option, of course, it has to be there, where purchase option is available. Okay. So useful life of the asset has to be considered. Oof. There is some problem in my laptop. Oh, just a minute. Okay, let me write again. My Control Z is not working. In case purchase option is available, and lessee intends to purchase it. So what is going to be taken? Useful life of
Asset.
Right? Useful life of the asset. In the second case, what about the second case? In other cases. Lower of what? In other cases, lower of what? In other cases, lower of what? Lower of
Useful life or period of use.
useful life, lower of useful life, lower of not useful life, lower of expected period of use and lease period and lease term. Right? Clear? Like I told you, out of 10 year, you only wants to use for what? Use for 7 year. So what is the depreciation period? The depreciation period is lower of expected period of use and lease term. Yes. Yes, Aminathan.
Yes, sir, you are right.
Yes. Clear? I think it is absolutely clear to all of you, yes or no?
Yes, sir,
clear.
absolutely clear.
Yes. So I have given the key points on your Excel file. Do you want me to put the examples also, or is that okay?
It's okay. It's okay.
संजय सिंह सर बाकी काम हम खुद ही कर लेंगे.
Yes.
So we'll do rest of the work. Yes. Yeah. One more point let me capture here. Point number 6. In case there is any modification in the lease contract, right? If there is any modification in the lease contract, then in case there is any modification in the lease contract, then what happened? We
have to recompute that lease liability and ROU.
ROU needs to be adjusted for any remeasurement impact of lease liability. Right? So friends, I have covered all these aspects. Okay. In subsequent measurement, what about your lease liability? So initial measurement, we understood how lease liability is computed, present value of future lease payments. But in subsequent measurement, how your lease liability in your subsequent measurement, how your lease liability is going to be remeasured. What you will do on every reporting date? What you will do in every reporting date? Tell me.
Sir, we will increase the lease liability based on the discount rate every year
We will increase.
by debiting the expenses and crediting to the lease liability every year.
Yes. So every year your lease liability will be increased by charging interest. Okay. Your lease liability will increase by charging interest in the P&L, interest to lease liability. And every year in the every period it is decreased by way of actual lease payment. Yes, you are absolutely clear. You're absolutely clear. Okay. So key points. These were the key points for what? For right of use asset. Right of use asset. Okay. And now we need to discuss for lease liability. Okay. We discussed that. Let me put these points here. Lease liability. Friends, lease liability increased by adding interest cost. Increased by adding interest cost. What is the accounting entry? Interest cost or finance cost account debit. Interest cost account debit.
I think your Excel file is not visible, sir. Only PPT is visible.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Earlier it was visible now when I was explaining right of use asset key points.
Yes, sir. Obviously, only when you are starting at lease liability.
Okay, no. I think now it is visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So I am writing notes on the lease liability. Lease liability is increased by adding interest cost. Interest cost account debit to what? To lease liability.
Lease liability.
Right. Then it is decreased. Decreased by what? Decreased by
Lease payment every year.
Payments.
decreased by lease payments every year. Decreased by lease payments every year. So decreased by lease. So what is the accounting entry? Lease liability account debit. Lease
To bank.
liability account debit to bank. To bank. Right. So this is the subsequent measurement concept of lease liability and right of use asset. Okay. Lease liability and right of use asset. Let's do one question from the study material. And talking about the expense recognition in the P&L depreciation we discussed, interest expense we discussed, variable lease payment. Which variable lease payment will go to P&L? Which is not depending on the index or rate.
Not fixed on the index or rate. Yeah.
Yes. Impairment of the ROU asset. These four items will go to the where? Will go to the expense in the P&L. Lessee accounting. Okay. So just a minute. Let me see whether I'll cover this question or different question. Entity ABC agrees to following lease payment. Okay, so let's discuss this question quickly. Lessee accounting. Entity ABC enters into a 3-year lease of equipment. What is the lease term?
3 years.
Entity ABC agrees to make following annual payment at the end of each year. See, the end is bold and underlined. Okay. Because this is important. So 3 payments at the end of each year, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000. For simplicity purpose, there are no other element to the lease payment like purchase option, lease incentive, IDC, initial direct cost, etc., etc. Nothing. assume the discount rate of 12%, which is entity ABC incremental borrowing rate, because interest rate implicit in the lease cannot be readily determined. And if both the rate would have been given, then which rate you will consider?
Earlier only.
Lesser internal IRR.
IRR.
IRR. Interest rate implicit in the lease. So lesser IRR you have to take, right? So if both the rates are given, lessee incremental borrowing rate and lesser internal rate of return. If both the rate are given, you have to consider lesser IRR. But if only lesser IRR is given, then please do that. If only lessee IBR is given, please use that. Okay. But if both are given, then lesser IRR. Always keep this in your mind. Always. Assume the discount rate of 12%. Yes. And entity ABC depreciate the ROE asset on straight line basis over the lease term. How would entity ABC do account for the said lease under Ind AS 116? क्या करेंगे 116 में? What we will do? Simple. What is your present value of cash flows? 20,000, 30,000 and 50,000. What is the discounting factor? 1 divided by 1.12 because it is at the end. 77364 is the value of your right of use asset. What is the accounting entry? Right of use asset account debit to lease liability. What is your opening balance? 77364. This is the lease liability schedule. Interest payment is 12% of this number. Lease payment is 20,000. Closing balance is this. So on and so forth. At the end of the year, it will become 0. And what about right of use asset? How this becomes 0? How ROU will become 0, Mamta? Mamta, how ROU will become 0? Or Neha, how this ROU will become 0?
Depreciating over the useful life.
Depreciating over the 3-year period useful life, this ROU will become 0, and interest we will and lease liability we will add interest and we will pay the lease rent. Okay, this is how this lease liability will become 0. Okay, so these are the accounting entry which is given for the first time recognition ROU asset to lease liability. Then every year you have to record an interest expense debit to lease liability, depreciation to right of use asset. Okay, these are the accounting entry which you need to pass every year. Then lease liability to bank. This is the entry you need to pass. Okay, these are the entry in impact in every year. And at the end of the 3 year, this ROU asset and lease liability will become 0. Okay. Anything which is not, which you guys are not able to understand anything in this question? Very simple question.
Yes, very clear. Very simple.
Now let's go to illustration number 31. Yes, little complex question. Little complex question. Company EFG enters into a property lease with entity H. The initial term of the lease is 10 years with a 5-year renewal option. Okay. The economic life of the property is 40 years and the fair value of the leased property is 50 lakhs. So economic life of the property is given 40 years and the fair value of the leased property is given, which is 50 lakhs. Okay. So the lease term is 10 year, 5 year is the renewal option. Not sure what it talks about renewal option. Let's see. The life of the building is 40 years and the fair value is 50 lakh rupees. Company EFG has an option to purchase the property at the end of the lease term for rupees 30 lakhs. There is a exercise option. There is a purchase option is also available. And at the end of the lease term, means at the end of the 10 year, this exercise price is 30 lakhs. The first annual payment is 5 lakh with an increase of 3% every year thereafter. So 5 lakh is the first payment and every year there is an increase of 3%. The implicit rate of interest is 9.04%. Entity H gives company EFG an incentive of rupees 2 lakhs payable at the beginning of year 2. Entity H gives company EFG an incentive of rupees 2 lakhs payable at the beginning of year 2, which is to be used for normal tenant improvement. Right? So this company has also given, lessor has given an incentive. Company EFG is reasonably certain to exercise the purchase option. How would EFG measure the right of use asset and lease liability over the lease term? Friends, whether this question is clear to all of you or not, tell me.
Clear, sir.
Is the question clear to everyone?
Yes, clear.
Very much clear? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So what is given in the question? Let's discuss this. What is given in the question? Let's discuss. Right? Solution illustration number, what is the illustration number? 31. Let's go to the Excel file. And I would like to solve this question on Excel file. I hope my Excel file is visible to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Illustration 31 of ICAI study material. And what it gives. So solution. So let me write all the facts here. First of all, let me write all the facts. Lease term. What is my lease term, friends? What is my lease term given in the question?
10 years.
Lease
10.
term is 10 years. My lease term is 10 years. Whether purchase option is available?
Yes, sir. Available,
Yes.
sir.
Available.
Available. And lessee is reasonably
Certain.
Certain to exercise the purchase option.
certain to avail. Right? Lessee is reasonably certain to avail also. Then, what is my exercise price? If I will avail, how much exercise price
30
I need to
lakhs.
pay?
30 lakhs.
30 lakhs. What is my lease payment? What is my lease payments? What is
I
my
think-
first payment? 5 lakh
5 lakhs.
plus
5 lakhs.
3%
Plus-
every.
Plus 3%.
3% escalation every year, right? 3%
Yes, sir.
escalation every year. See how I'm writing the facts in this crisp manner. Okay. What is my lease incentive? What is my lease incentive?
And the second
My
year beginning
lease incentive
2
2
lakhs.
2
lakhs.
2
lakhs.
lakh receivable when?
Second year beginning.
At the beginning of second year. What is my discount rate?
9.04.
9.04.
9.04% is my discount. 9.04% is the discount rate. Okay. 9.04% is the discount rate. And what is the life of the property?
I think 40 years.
40 years.
40 years. What is my fair value of the property?
50 lakhs.
I think 50 lakhs given.
This is what given in the question. This is your entire question, right? This is your entire question. यही आपका question. एग्जाम में आपको यही करना है. This is your entire question, right?
We have to write like this.
Yes, friends, tell me one thing. In this question, it is not given that all these lease payment over a period of 10 years, whether it is happening at the end or it is happening at the beginning. So what you will assume here? It is not given, and it is an important aspect.
At
It
the
will
end.
change your present value.
Sir, I will assume in the beginning of the year, because the second year the incentive they are giving 2 lakhs on the beginning. So which means unless otherwise they receive the lease payment, how the lessor will give the payment to me?
See, yes, while in the question it is silent about the lease payment. It is silent about the lease payment in the question, right? And it also talks about a lease incentive payment, which is at the beginning. Tell me one thing, as a normal practice, let's say you are a lessor and you have to give an incentive to the lessee. Generally, what you will do? Will you pay the cash to the lessee, or will you tell to the lessee that when you will pay me rent, deduct that money as an incentive from my side? Generally, what you will do as a layman?
Deduct, sir.
Yes, sir. Understand.
Adjust the amount.
Deduct.
कभी भी मैं अपनी जेब से कैश निकाल के तो देने नहीं जाऊंगा, right? So what will I do? What will I do? I will say that, dear lessee, you have to pay me 1 lakh rupee. Please deduct 20,000 rupees or pay me only 80,000 rupees. Or when the lessee will come to pay me 1 lakh rupee, I will return 20,000 rupees as a lease incentive. Yes or no? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Of course, yes. So friends, the point is, in this question, it has given you indication that if the lease incentive is getting paid at the beginning of the year 2, it means the lease rentals are also getting paid at the beginning. Lease rentals are also getting paid at the beginning. Okay. And friends, this is how this study material has also solved this question. This is how the study material has also solved this question. So in this question, the timing of lease incentive is at the beginning of year 2, and hence we will also assume the lease rentals at the beginning of every year. Right? Okay. I hope it is clear. Yes. Now let's solve this question. Okay. So in this question, year, so let me compute the right of use asset. And what is the right of use asset? It is a present value of lease obligation. Right? Present value of lease payment. So year, then your what? Amount means lease payment. There is a lease incentive also. Then there is a net lease payment. Friends, I would request all of you, if you are not able to understand any concept, then let me know, right? So don't hesitate and don't wait for the concept. Don't hesitate, right? If you will hesitate, you are just impacting your future, your career, right? You all are my student, right? You all are my student. अगर मैं आपको डांटूंगा भी, अगर मैं बोलूंगा भी आपने क्यों बार बार पूछ रहे हो, राइट? सो नॉट टू वरी, don't be scared about those kind of those things, but ask question if you're not able to understand, right? While I am keeping it very simple and short, I am giving examples, I am solving a lot of questions. So if you will miss the bus at the first place, you will be able to understand in the second place. But still, if you are not able to understand any part, like Chitra has asked, sir, why you have not adjusted 10,000 rupees advance lease rental in the next payment? I told her, I'm assuming that this payment is over and above payment, right? But in the next question, it was adjusted, right? Yes. So net lease payment, then your present value factor and your present value. Friends, year 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. These are years. Lease payment. What is my lease payment? My lease payment is 5 lakh. My lease payment is 5 lakh. And what is the escalation every year?
3%.
3%.
1.03. What is my lease incentive in the first year? And I'm assuming all these things in the beginning, right? In the beginning. These are at the beginning. These are at beginning. Starting. These are at starting. Okay. 0. Lease incentive is 0. 0 in every year? No.
In second year,
How much?
No, sir. On the second year, 2 lakhs.
2 lakhs.
2 lakh. What is the net lease payment? Do you remember why I have put 3 columns in this ROU calculation? Why I have put 3 columns in ROU calculation?
To get net and then we have present value.
Yes, first I have computed the escalation and then I have computed the escalation, I have computed the rental every month, and since in the second year this 2 lakh rupee lease incentive is there, so that is why I have put 3 columns for this lease payment. What is my present value factor, guys? What is my present value factor?
9.04%.
At the rate 9.04%, at the rate 9.04%. What is the PVF for the first year?
1.
1, sir.
1. Very good. Now you guys become very smart, I must say. Very smart.
We are your students, sir.
Your student.
1.0904. And when I say smart, I am saying good wala smart. Good smart. Right? Yes. Yes. So what is the present value? This multiplied by this. Yes. Yeah, this is what we have computed. Is that final or something else needs to be done? Is this final? So
No,
10
sir.
year is the lease term. Purchase option was also there. 30 lakh rupee lease payment incentive discount rate. What is missing? Whether
Sir,
my
on the
computation is
Value
complete.
of the present
no,
value
no,
of
sir.
size options.
Purchase
No.
option. You remember
Yes.
my lease payment is equal to my present value of lease liability. So my lease payment also include exercise price. Okay.
Yes.
sir.
So my lease payment, what is my lease liability? So my lease liability is the present value of the lease payment. What is my lease payment? My lease payment is equal to fixed payment, in substance fixed payment, variable payment, exercise price, termination penalty, residual value guarantee. बहुत सारी चीज है ना. So
Yes.
now what I'll do? End. But when I'm going to exercise,
Under 10th year.
under 10th year, at the end of the 10th year, what is the amount which I'm going to exercise?
30 lakhs.
30 lakhs. I'm going to exercise 30 lakhs. Okay. 30 lakhs. What is the incentive? No. Payment? No. 30 lakh. What is my discount rate for 10th year?
0.459.
0.459.
We will
Was the end of the
because in this above we have beginning of, and at last we will exercise at the last of 10 year after ending 10th year.
Yes. And this is the mistake which students used to make. This lease rental, this normal payment of regular payment of 10-year lease rental is at the beginning. And this exercise price is going to be paid at the end. तो कितने साल का फर्क है? पूरे 1 साल का. So this divide by 1.0904. Have you understood or have you haven't understood?
Yes, understood.
Yes, sir. 0.407.
Yes. 0.407. This divide by 1.
no 0.421.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, 0.421.
Yeah. So what is my present value of total lease payment? What is my present value of total lease payment? My present value of total lease payment is how much? It is what? This plus this. This is 50 lakh. And what is the fair value? Fair value is also 50 lakh.
Yes, yes,
Right?
sir.
Yeah. Now, what is the accounting entry? What is the accounting entry?
ROE asset plus ROE
ROU asset
debit
to lease liability,
lease liability.
Right. At the time of initial recognition and measurement. My right of use asset account debit to
Lease liability.
lease liability. Credit. Amount is 50 lakh. Okay. So this is my initial recognition and measurement. What is subsequent measurement? What is subsequent measurement? क्या
Depreciation.
करेंगे इस ROU का? What will do this ROU? What
Depreciation.
will do with this
economic.
ROU? Depreciation. How much is the depreciation? How much is the depreciation? Since purchase option is there, the ROU needs to be depreciated over the useful life of the property. Right? Since purchase option is there, so ROU needs to be depreciated, not over 10 years, not over the lease term, over the how many years?
40 years.
40 years.
Because the purchase option is given. Hence, we need to use the entire useful life.
Yes. 40 years is given property. That is 40 years. Since purchase option is there, ROU needs to be depreciated over the useful life of the property, that is 40 years. Right? That is 40 years. Okay. So what is my yearly depreciation? What is my yearly depreciation? क्या होगा yearly depreciation? 50 lakh divided by 40.
40 years.
1,25,000.
1,25,005 rupees. Right. And what is my accounting entry? Depreciation on ROU asset account debit to
Accumulated depreciation.
accumulated depreciation.
Sir, one doubt, sir. Actually, what I told is correct only. 0.407. This is 9.04 PV factor, and the first year it comes to it's you used 9% sir, instead of 9.04.
Okay.
I am thinking why my calculation is wrong.
So your depreciation is 125,006. Okay. Yeah. Is that entry clear? Shall I prepare lease liability schedule also? Shall I prepare lease liability schedule? Yeah, because
Yes.
subsequent measurement, you have done subsequent measurement for your right of use asset. What about lease liability? Let's prepare lease liability schedule also. Lease liability schedule. It will give you interest and lease payment every year. Lease liability schedule. I hope you guys are getting comfort now. ROU calculation, lease liability calculation, depreciation, interest cost, right? Beginning, end, how to compute lease payment, right? So now you guys are getting comfort, right?
Yes, yes, right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Very comfortable.
Year. Then year के बाद your opening balance. Opening balance. Then your lease payment. Why I'm putting the lease payment first? Why I'm putting the lease payment first?
Beginning.
Because
of
it is
the-
beginning. It is beginning.
Beginning.
Then interest, because payments are getting made in the beginning. Interest at the rate of 9.04%. Then your closing balance. This is what it is there. Okay. Now coming to the year. And this schedule is for 40 year or for 10 year?
Sir, for 10 years.
10 years, sir.
This schedule is for 10 year because the liability is there for 10 year only. After
10 years.
After 10 years, this exercise price will be paid and the liability will be crystallized. What is the opening balance of lease liability? 50 lakh.
50 lakh to 28.
What is the lease payment in the first year?
5 lakh.
5 lakh. At what value my interest? At what value my interest is going to be paid? At what value?
9.04.
9.01.
We have 50.
This plus this means 50 lakh minus 5 lakh multiply by 9.04%. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Sir, when we use the lease liability, we completed the PV is 9% instead of 9.04%.
In the question, in the exam question, in the board of studies question.
No, in the Excel computation, sir. Actually, 1 divided by 1.094. Instead of 0.94, you put 9.
No, I have put 0904. Where I have put 9? It is 0.0904
It's okay.
is there.
Yes, it's
Sorry?
okay. No, I said it's okay, 9.04.
9.0.
So where I have put 9.4? Where?
Sir, in this case, 1.094, not 04.
You are saying I should put 1.094.
No,
Why?
no, no,
No,
it's
sir.
wrong. This is
No,
not
sir.
right.
No, sir. I'm telling you.
It's 9.04, so it's a correct. And it's not 9.4.
Yes.
Sir,
It's
Swaminathan,
okay.
9.4 only as a percentage.
So Swaminathan, let me clear you. Okay. First of all, don't get confused, right? Otherwise, everybody will get confused. So let me clarify once again. Here, the interest rate is given as 9.04%. Okay. Is this clear to everyone?
Yes,
So
sir.
let's say if the interest rate would have been given as a 15%, then how you will compute your present value factor? Your present value factor would have been equal to 1 divided by 1.15, right? Divide by 1.15.
Right.
So what is the percentage here? 9.04. 9.04%. 9.04% is there. So what I have done? So before 15, so let's say if it would have been 9%, let's say if it would have been only 9%, then what is my present value factor? What is my present? 1 divided by 1 point what?
0.
109.
1.09.
09.
1.09. Yes. When it is 10%, 1 divided by 1.1. When it is 15%, 1 divided by 1.15. When it is 9%, 1 divided by 1.09. So if it is 9.04%, so what I did? 1 divided by 1.09 and the last mein 0.4. This is what I have done. And this is what it is required to be done only. And in all my calculation, I have used the same. 1 divided by 1.0904 everywhere. I don't know where the confusion is.
Yes, sir. Now it's very clear, sir. I thought that it should be why 9.40. I used that. Okay, now
No, so
it's very clear.
that is wrong, na? That is wrong. So
Yeah,
9.04 is right.
yes, sir,
Okay.
it's a my mistake. I wrongly understood.
Yeah. But others, are you okay?
Yes,
Do you
understood.
have any
Already.
confusion? No?
No. It is
Okay,
okay.
very good. Very good. So always remember, and I think after this calculation, if anybody who was not clear is clear now, right? Okay. Yes. So now let me, what is my closing balance? So 50 lakh was the day one opening balance on the commencement date. On the commencement date, I have paid 5 lakh rupees. And during the year, at up to the end of the year, this 4,06,821 is my interest, and my closing balance is this much at the end of the first year. In the beginning of the second year, this becomes my opening balance. And what I have paid in the beginning of the second year, what I have paid, it is net of lease incentive, 3,15,000. Because you have also computed your present value of lease liability after netting your lease incentive. Then your interest payment, which is on what? Which is after reducing 3,15,000. And this is your closing balance. Shall I drag this up to 10 year? Shall I copy this?
Yes, sir.
The calculation you understood? Yes. Friends, what is my balance at the end of the 10th year? What is my remaining balance at the end of the 10th year?
30 lakhs.
30 lakh. Now I have to make one more payment. Make one more payment, right?
Yes, sir. 30 lakhs.
So I have reached at the end. I have reached at the end of the 10th year. I have to make one more payment, 30 lakh.
Yes.
I have to pay 30 lakh rupees as my lease, as my exercise price. So this becomes 0. Whether this entry is clear, whether this calculation is clear to all of you, my dear friends. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Clear.
Yes,
So
sir.
what is my accounting entry at the time of subsequent measurement? Interest cost account debit, interest cost or interest expense account debit.
To lease liability.
To lease liability credit. Okay. Interest expense account debit to lease liability credit. What is the value? What is the value in the first year? All these numbers, right?
4 lakhs.
And these are the years 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Will you do this or should I do this? 8, 9, 10. Number तो आप डाल लोगे ना?
Yes.
Yes. Year 1 this, year 2. This is the year 2 number. Okay. This is the year 3 interest cost. This is the year 4 interest cost. Can you please do this? So on and so forth, you will.
Yes, sir.
Pass this entry for 10 years, right? You have to put the 10-year number. That's all. And what is the next entry? What is the next entry? Lease liability.
To bank account.
To bank.
To bank.
Every year on the payment.
Every year. What is the accounting entry in the first year? 5 lakh. This is the net entry. So I am passing the net entry after lease incentive, right?
Yes, sir. Net payment.
Net payment. Yeah. This is your lease payment entry, and this is your lease liability schedule and lease liability entry. I hope illustration number 31 is clear to all of you, my dear friends.
Clear.
Clear, sir. It involved all the computations in lease accounting.
Okay. Yeah. So absolutely clear, very much clear, friends. Friends, now we understood this entire set of initial measurement, subsequent measurement. Friends, now there are two exemptions from ROU calculation. There are two exemptions, right? And what are these two exemptions? Let me tell you. What are these two exemptions? Friends, the earlier standard was very simple. You just need to do an accounting expense account debit to lessor account, lessor to bank, or expense to bank, right? Or rent to rent payable, whatever. Very simple. But now you have to do all this complex set of calculation, right? You need to first of all compute the lease term, then you need to compute the lease payment, then you need to compute the discount rate, then you need to do the discounting, whether it is beginning of the year, it is end of the year, right? So all these things you need to do this. All these juggleries you need to entertain. So earlier life was very simple, but now life become very complex. And subsequently the lease period will increase. Then again you have to remeasure. You have to adjust your right of use asset. You have to change your depreciation subsequently. Since there is an asset, there is a concept of impairment also. Earlier there was no asset, no impairment. हर बार हम क्या करते थे? Rent account debit to bank account, expense to bank, right? So friends, since this accounting is little complex accounting in comparison to the earlier standard, and India and the world, everybody was habituated of passing an entry as rent account debit to bank account, expense to bank, right? And suddenly in 2019, when this standard was made applicable, people were finding very difficult to do this accounting for all leases, because this standard is applicable to all type of leases except a negative list which is given. So don't think like a student, think like a chartered accountant who is either practicing chartered accountant or working in a company. Think like a company which is Reliance, or think in any company where you have gone for an audit, public sector company or any big company. Don't you think in those companies, the lease is only for building? The lease is for so many items, so many equipments. Yes or no? For example, the lease is for the property, and the classic case is property. Everyone is doing for the property, right? But all these big companies, they are taking vehicle on rent. They are taking vehicles, cars on a lease basis. They are taking coffee vending machine, tea vending machine on a lease basis. They are also taking furniture on a lease basis. They are taking computer and laptop on a lease basis. And they are also taking photocopy machine, printer on a lease basis. So there are a lot of items which these companies are acquiring on a lease basis. If I talk about Reliance Industries Limited, if I talk about the entire group of Reliance Industries Limited, they do have almost a 1 lakh of lease contracts. How much lease contract I have told you? Approximate
1 lakh.
1 lakh lease contract of multiple item across the globe at different jurisdiction. Multiple item across the globe. So friends, don't you think the life was earlier very simple for all this 1 lakh item rent paid, expense account debit to bank? Or here on the commencement date for all this 1 lakh lease contract, you need to identify the lease term. You need to identify the lease payment. You need to see the timing. You need to identify the discount rate. You need to compute the present value of lease obligation. You need to finalize the right of use asset. Every year you need to compute your depreciation and charge depreciation. Then you need to also put the interest cost. Then you need to pass the lease liability payment entry. Don't you think this accounting is very complex? Complex in terms of in comparison to earlier situation. I'm not saying this is actually very complex, but very detailed, right? So friends, that is why That is why this Ind AS 116 and IFRS 16 has given you some exemption. 2 exemption they have given, right? And what is this exemption? They told that, and these are optional. These are the optional exemption. These are not the mandatory exemption. These are the optional exemption. And what they told, let me tell you. They told that in two cases, you can avail the exemption from doing this complex and detailed lease accounting. In the case of short-term leases and in the case of low-value leases. Okay, sir. Sir, if we will avail this exemption, then I will not do this right of use asset and lease liability accounting. Sir, then what accounting I will do? तो क्या अकाउंटिंग करूंगा मैं? अगर ये एग्जेम्पशन में अवेल करूंगा तो मैं अकाउंटिंग क्या करूंगा? What accounting I will do? Tell me. What accounting I will do?
Normal accounting, the rent account debit.
Normal accounting. Yes, you are absolutely right, Samina. The normal accounting. I will do normal accounting. Means rent account debit to bank account or rent account debit to, rent account debit to payable account, means lessor account or landlord account debit to bank account, whatever, right? But normal accounting you have to do. Normal accounting. Okay. So friends, there are two items: short-term leases and low-value leases. What is a short-term lease and what is low-value lease? Let's understand one by one. Okay. What is short-term lease? Short-term lease means a lease contract where the lease term is 12 months or less. It is not less than 12 months. It is 12 months or less than 12 months. So even if the lease contract is for 1 year, it will also be considered as a short-term lease. Okay. Or even if the lease term is for 11 months or 11 months and 29 days or 11 months and 30 days, it will also be considered as a short-term lease, right? A lease where the purchase option is available. For example, you have entered into a contract, a lease contract for a printer machine, for a printer. You entered into a lease contract for a printer, which is a period of 1 year. Is it a short-term lease?
Yes.
Neha, is it a short-term lease?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is a short-term lease. But now let me give you more information and then Neha, you need to tell me, is it a short-term lease or not? So you have entered into a contract, lease contract of a printer for 1 year. And at the end of 1 year, there is a purchase option which is available. Means the lessee can avail the purchase option of buying a printer after 1 year. Tell me, now, is it a short-term lease?
Sir, after 12 months, till 12 months is a short-term lease.
So Neha, you have to check at the commencement date. All these classification, all these, because at the commencement date, you will do the accounting, na? So at the commencement date, the purchase option is available in the lease contract, and at the commencement date, you are reasonably certain also. In that case, Neha, it will not be considered as a short-term lease. So standard says that if a purchase option is available in a short-term lease, then that lease will not be considered as a short-term lease. Okay, right? So this is what it is given in the standard. And the election shall be made by class of underlying asset to which right of use asset belongs. The election has to be made by the class of underlying asset to which the right of use asset belongs. What does it mean? Let's understand with the help of an example. I hope my Excel file is visible.
Yes, sir.
Friends, exemption from ROU asset accounting. There are two exemptions to this accounting, and these are the optional exemption on the discretion of the lessee. These are the optional exemption. Exemption number 1, short-term lease. And what is that exemption? Let's discuss this. For example, there are 5 buildings. And there is a lease period. There are 5 buildings and there is a lease period which is given for the 5 building in Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Gurugram, and Kolkata. What is the lease period of this 5 building? Let's say 1 year, 11 months, 10 months, 1 year. So 1 year, 11 months, then 10 months, 5 years, 6 years, 10 months, 5 years, 6 years. 5 years, 6 years. Okay. Now, question number 1. Question number 1. Okay. Question number 1 is whether can a lessee apply the ROU accounting on all the above 5 buildings? Whether the short-term lease exemption is mandatory for building number 1, 2, and 3. This is the first question. Tell me. Answer. Tell me the answer of the first question. Can a lessee apply the ROU accounting on all the 5 buildings? क्या lessee सारी 5 बिल्डिंग पे ROU accounting अप्लाई कर सकता है?
No, unless there is a purchase option.
Yes, sir, हो सकता है.
Exemption are not mandatory. They are optional. They are optional.
In the three above 3, Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, he can opt for this exemption.
Yes. Exemption is not mandatory. Yes. The lessee can apply ROU accounting to all the 5 buildings. Why? Because the exemption of short-term lease
It's optional.
is optional, not mandatory. Is optional and not mandatory. Is optional and not mandatory. Right. This is optional, not mandatory. Question number 2. What is question number 2? Can the lessee apply ROU accounting for building 4 and 5 and avail short-term lease exemption for building number 1, 2, and 3? Tell me. क्या lessee ऐसा कर सकता है? So my question is, can the lessee apply ROU accounting for building number 4 and 5? Building number 4 and 5 में तो कोई option ही नहीं है. Right? And can avail short-term lease exemption for building number 1, 2, and 3?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes. Answer is yes. Yes, lessee can apply ROU accounting on building number 4 and 5, and lessee can avail short-term lease exemption on building number 1, 2, and 3. Question number 3. The lessee wants to apply the short-term lease exemption to building number 1, but wants to apply the ROU accounting to building number 2 and 3. Is this right? Can lessee do that?
No, sir.
Sir, answer is no, sir. That particular class of asset he has to select all the 3 assets.
Yes, the answer is no. The lessee, this is not right. The lessee cannot do a cherry pick choice. The lessee has to avail the exemption for the entire class of assets which are eligible for exemption. This is not right. This is not right. The lessee has to avail the exemption on entire class of assets on which the exemption is eligible. Entire class का मतलब ऐसा नहीं building number 4 and 5. Building number not Gurgaon and Kolkata, not 4 and 5, right? On which exemption is eligible. सबसे पहले तो eligibility देखोगे ना? What you will see? Building number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What you will see? Eligibility. So building number 4 and 5 is not eligible. These are beyond 1 year. Right? So friends, this is what it is talking about. It is saying that the election of short-term lease has to be made by a class of underlying asset to which the right of use belongs, to which the right of use relates. Okay? Is that clear? Is that clear or not clear?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Is that clear? Is that very much clear?
So I have doubt on the first question again.
Yes, sir.
So just hold on your doubt. First of all, let me make more notes for you. Okay, then your doubt will automatically cleared, I believe. Okay, yes. So let's say now let me talk more about this concept, short-term lease exemption. Short-term lease exemption. Short-term lease exemption. So what we have discussed. So in short-term lease exemption, what is there in short-term lease exemption? First of all, lease term of 12 months or less. Lease term of 12 months or less. Okay. Lease term of 12 months or less. Right. That is what we discussed. Second, what we discussed. Second part, what we discussed. Second
Purchase
part is, what is second part? The
Purchase of-
election,
is not a-
the election shall be made by class of underlying asset to which ROU relates. Okay. The exemption election is made on the class of asset. Third, what is third? Third, if purchase option is available, then
It is not a short-term lease.
yes, if purchase option is available, then it is not a short-term lease. Fourth, short-term lease exemption. This exemption is optional, not a mandate, not mandatory. This exemption is optional, not mandatory, right? Okay. Yes. So let me give you one more question and then we'll discuss further. Question. So let me give you one more question here so that this part will get completed. This part will get completed. Question. A lessee has entered into a lease for a car for 1 year. Lease of a car for 1 year. There is a purchase option available to the lessee at the end of the lease term. Can lessee avail the short-term lease exemption?
No.
Why no?
Because there is a purchase option
No.
for purchasing
Lessee
the car.
cannot avail the short-term lease exemption. Why? Why? Because
Purchase option.
because of the purchase option. Yes, Sanjay. Now you can ask your question.
Yes, the first question was whether lessee can apply RO on above 5 buildings. So there are 2 buildings which have 5 years and 6 years, which is above 1 year. So how can they apply for this short-term lease for these all the 5 assets option?
So basically, the first question, if you read, it is just for confusing you guys. Can a lessee apply the ROE accounting on all the above five buildings? Yes. On the last 2 buildings, it has to be there. It is mandatory on the last 2 buildings. But what about the first 3 buildings? Right? It is asking on all the 5. Okay. So answer is yes, it can apply. So whether the short-term lease exemption is mandatory for building number 1, 2, and 3, answer is no. That is why it can apply on all the 5 buildings. No? फिर second question को पढ़ो. Second question को पढ़ो. Can the lessee apply ROU accounting for building number 4 and 5 and avail short-term lease exemption for building number 1, 2, and 3? Answer is yes. So if you read first and second collectively, what answer you have got? You have got the answer that building number 1, 2, and 3 is eligible for
Yes.
short-term lease exemption.
Yes.
Short-term lease exemption, right?
Yes.
But building number 4 and 5 is not eligible. Building number 4 and 5,
Yes.
mandatory ROU accounting. Mandatory
Yes.
ROU accounting, right?
Yes, right.
Right. So then the question is, okay, sir. So first and second we have understood. Now these 3 buildings are eligible for short-term lease exemption. Now I want to avail the lease exemption only on Delhi building because the rentals are very high. So I want to split it into the depreciation and interest cost. So I want to avail the exemption on the Delhi building, but I don't want to avail the exemption on Mumbai or Chennai building. Can I
We
do that?
cannot do that. No.
Answer is no. Because this exemption is as per the class of the asset. And when I say class of the asset, to all the asset in that class which are eligible for exemption.
Right.
Right, Sanjay?
Yes.
So this is what I have written. Okay. And purchase
Yes.
option I have also covered. Yes.
Yes, right.
I
Got
hope
it.
it is absolutely clear to all of you.
Yes, sir.
It is clear
Yes,
in
sir.
mind or clear from mind?
Clear in mind, sir.
Clear in mind.
Vibhu, it is clear in mind?
Yeah, I
Yes,
got
sir.
confused because I did not read this ROU asset. Can the lessee apply the ROU asset on all the buildings?
Okay.
Because he can. I thought it is about asking about the short-term leases.
Not to worry. Not to worry. But now it is clear, na?
Yeah, no, clear. Yes.
Yes, very good. So all this, so this is the only, when you read this paragraph, whatever I have written you for the notes, you don't need to read anything else. This is the complete short-term lease exemption. Complete. Okay. Yes. So friends, now let's go to the PowerPoint presentation. Let's discuss this illustration from ICAI study material. A lessee enters into a lease with a 9-month non-cancelable term, with an option to extend the lease for 4 months. With an option to extend the lease for 4 months. So the lease does not have a purchase option. At the lease commencement date, the lessee is reasonably certain to exercise the extension option because the monthly lease payment during the extension period are significantly below market rate. So on the commencement date, when you identify the lease term, what is my lease term is equal to non-cancelable period plus rent-free period plus what?
Optional renewal.
Optional renewal period if lessee is reasonably certain to exercise plus optional termination period if lessee is reasonably certain not to exercise the termination period.
Not to exercise, yes.
So in this case, what will happen in this case? In this case, what will happen?
In this case, sir, 9 months is NCF, 4 months is optional renewal period, totally 13 months. See, exceeding that 12 months, hence it is not a short-term lease.
It is not the short-term lease. Yes. Why? Yes. Because the total period is how much? Total period is
13 months.
Total period is 13 months. Total period is 13 months. It is 13 months. So is it a short-term lease?
No.
Is it a short-term lease? Answer is right. So friends, one thing is very clear. If your fundamental concepts are clear, then only you will be able to answer even the small question. Otherwise, this lease exemption is very simple exemption.
Yes,
but here it applies the application of the lease term concept also. Okay. So when you apply, your first step is to compute what is my lease term. Once it is identified, then you need to look at, okay, my lease term is more than 12 months. It is 13 months and hence it is not a short-term lease and hence it is not a short-term lease. It is a long-term lease and it is not eligible for lease exemption. Okay, it is not eligible for lease exemption. And you need to look at the purchase option as well. You need to look at purchase option as well. Okay. Yes. Second question. Assume the same facts as scenario A, except at the lease commencement date, the lessee is not reasonably certain to exercise the extension option because the monthly lease payments during the optional extension period are at what the lessee expects to be market rates, and there are no other factors that would make exercise of renewal option reasonably certain. Will your answer be different in this case?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Because only the 9 months. It's
Yes,
less
in
than
this
12
case,
months. It is
There
a
is an
short term.
option.
yeah, in this case, optional renewal period, availing the optional renewal period is not reasonably certain. So your primary period will be considered as a lease period, which is 9 months. And since 9 months is less than 12 months, it is 12 months or less, and hence short-term lease exemption can be availed, right? Short-term lease exemption can be availed. Okay.
But it's optional with the lessee.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is optional with the lessee. Of course, it is optional with the lessee. So whenever you are recognizing short-term lease payment, it has to be recognized. It has to be recognized on a systematic basis. Means straight lining. Systematic basis means straight lining. Okay. For example, so let me cover this question also. Let me cover this question also. So many examples, so many questions. Let me cover this also. Question. A lessee has entered into a 12-month of lease contract. A lessee has entered into a 12-month of lease contract with the lessor. The payment in the first quarter is rupees 10,000, right? It will increase by 10% in every quarter. Please advise what will be the lease rentals if lessee avails the short-term lease exemption. Tell me. So first of all, answer. First of all, tell me what is the quarterly expense? What is the quarterly payments? What are the quarterly payments? Tell me.
It will be 10,000, sir, per quarter, and then increase plus 10% escalation.
Computation of quarterly payments. Quarter. Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Right? Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Right. Amount, payments. What are the payments? In the first quarter, what is the payment? 10,000 rupees.
10,000.
What is the payment in the second quarter? 10,000 multiplied by 110%. Right?
11,000.
Yes, sir.
So tell me, what is the quarterly expense? Tell me, what is the rental expense in the quarter? Rental expense. How much rental expense has to be recognized in every quarter?
For the total yearly quarter payment 46,410 divided by 4. That is the quarterly expenses.
So friends, in this case, when you are availing the short-term lease exemption or low-value lease exemption, whenever you are availing exemption and whenever you are recognizing lease rental expense, that expense needs to be recognized on a systematic basis. Expense needs to be recognized on a systematic basis. Right? So what is the total? What is the total rental expense? 4646410. So 46410 divided by 46410 divided by 4. every quarter, this will be your rental expense. Every quarter, this will be your rental expense. Is this clear to everyone? What is the accounting entry? What is the accounting entry on a quarterly basis? What is the accounting entry in Mamta? What is the accounting entry in the first quarter? Accounting entry in the first quarter. Rent expense account debit. Rent expense
To bank.
account debit.
To rent payable account.
Rent expense account debit. To bank. Okay. What is to bank? Debit. Credit. What is credit? What is credit? How much money has to be paid?
11,600. 10,000.
But what is the rent expense debit? 11,603. Where the difference 1,603 will go?
Rent payable.
To
Expense payable.
lease equalization reserve. To lease equalization. Right? While it is also liability, it is not a reserve, it is lease equalization liability. Okay. Credit. What is the entry in quarter 2? What is the entry in quarter 2? Same entry? Same entry in quarter 2? Same entry होगी नहीं होगी? What is rent expense debit? Rent expense debit same amount. To bank what? 11,000. So difference, where the difference will go? This minus this. Q3. What is the accounting entry in Q3? Rent expense debit. 11,603 rent expense to debit होगा. Right? 11,603. To bank. How much to bank? To bank कितना होगा ममता? What is the to bank in the quarter 3?
12,100.
12,100. Where the difference will go? Again to lease.
Lease equalization.
So but payment is 12,100 and the difference will go to the lease equalization. Lease equalization now debit or credit? Now you will reverse the lease equalization. Now you will reverse the lease equalization. Lease equalization debit. And what is this debit? This minus this. So what is the balance which is left in the lease equalization? In the first year you have credited 1,603. Second year was 603 minus third year 498. So the balance is how much? 1708. Let's pass the accounting entry in Q4. Accounting entry in Q4. Rent expense account debit. What is the rent expense account debit? 11,603. To bank. What is to bank? 13,310. Where the difference will go? Lease equalization debit. 1708. Has it become zero? Has it become zero?
Yes.
Have you understood the accounting entry? Have you understood straight lining of lease rental concept?
Yes.
Yeah. On a systematic basis, which means straight lining of lease rental. I hope you guys have understood these concepts. My dear friends, let me recap. Low value lease exemption I will cover in the next class. So today, what I have covered today, I have covered. क्या cover किया मैंने? कुछ नहीं आज. Nothing. I have covered nothing today. Yes. Today I have covered the initial recognition and measurement of right of use assets, right? Where right of use asset is equal to present value of future lease payment, which is lease liability, plus lease payment before commencement date minus lease incentive plus initial direct cost plus provision for decommissioning or dismantling, right? And I have covered two examples also with all the details, with the complete schedule, working and journal entries, everything, right? Then we have covered the subsequent measurement and we have covered that the right of use asset is subsequently remeasured at cost model or revaluation model. It is a accounting policy choice and your carrying amount is computed by reducing accumulated depreciation and accumulated impairment losses. Depreciation needs to be provided on straight line method. If there is a purchase option, your useful life is equal to life of the asset. If no purchase option, then useful life is equal to lower of lease period and the expected period of use. Okay. If there's a modification in the contract, the liability needs to be remeasured and ROU needs to be adjusted. Okay. In case of lease liability, you have to charge an interest and you have to increase the liability. In case of lease payment, you have to debit your lease liability and pay the money. Okay. This is what we discussed. We did 3-4 questions from ICAI study material also. Then we discussed there are 2 scenarios where lease exemption are available, where this ROU and lease liability exemption is available, short-term lease and low value lease exemption, right? And we have discussed that the lease term of 12 months or less will cover in this scenario. The exemption election is made on the class of the asset. If purchase option is available, then it is not a short-term lease. This exemption is optional, not mandatory. And if you are availing the lease exemption, then whatever expense you are recognizing, it has to be recognized on a straight line basis, right? This is what we discussed today, my dear friends, and I hope you guys are very much clear on the 3 classes, including today's class, because I have also revised the first 2 class. Right? I hope you guys are very much clear in terms of the understanding of the concepts along with examples and the case studies and the ICAI study material. I hope you guys are very much clear. Yeah?
Yeah, very much clear.
Thank you so much, my dear friends. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Clear.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a wonderful day.